The aftermath of Battle of France, the German and Italian armistice. The armistice of June 22 divided France into two zones, one to be under German military occupation and one left to normal French sovereignty. The occupation zone comprised in the northern France from the Swiss frontier border of the Channel, along the entire Atlantic coast to the western end of the Peninsula. This is a French mountain near the border of Spain. An occupied zone only consists of the southern 2/5 of France's territories. The French Navy and the Air Force was to be neutralized, but not required to hand over any things to the Germans, in particularly the consistent by the French negotiators of the economic barriers established between two zones and the requirement of German refugees to be handed over to German authorities, and the suggestions of the Franco-German terms might to be modified to meet Italian demands. The attack on Ribbon. By tragedy irony, this is May 1940, which would be a battle against the British against the French. The period of the French surrender of the British that had agreed to release Verdun's government of obligation and allies might seek a respirational armistice with Germany. This concluded granted posthumously the French fleet would not be under effective British control and not surrender to the enemy. Verdun's government accepted Germany's terms that mounted the acts of tragedies as the French met the Anglo-German naval strength of the British. In the days of the following surrender, much doubt remained of whether French naval officers, included the administration that would accept the terms of the Verdun government. Became evidently governor in French North Africa and Syria intended to Churchill's act swiftly. On July 3rd, the British launched Operation Catapults, the attempt to neutralize the French naval assets. All French naval vessels in the British ports were seized, and the agreement of those ships in Alexandria, Egypt, had accepted treatment of demilitarization during the war. Large collection of the French naval strength, however, was in the port of Benghazi, not within British control, and a common enemy. He could sell to the British of the West Indian ports, or the British would sink and furious stall. Of the reinforcement prepared to sail, the British having intercept the Gaulish tactical mail. This was the famous words from the French officer and the British that they were trying to have peace and send over their troops and naval assets. The end of the Third Republic created Vichy France, obviously intended to two armistices to resign, with the French alternation of the primary subjects of Germany intended this appearance on July 10, 1940, when it was pushed on the National Assembly, devolved itself to bring the Third Republic to an end. The Vichy France authoritarianism of the Prussian regional slogan, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Their work for the fatherland of the Nazis that partner, tied to the German military success. Although France had been taken to armistice of parts of the French nation would continue to fight, General Franz de Gaulle had established himself in England, the voice of France's continued resistance. On June 28th, he was recognized by the British as the Free France leader. On August 2, 1940, a French court tried to Alexandria and sentenced him to death. During the second half of 1940, the colonne of the led Free French Army had only one leader, and one leader only was voluntarily voted responsible for the inside of Free France. By the end of 1940, vicious local movements and resistance has formed, frustrated occupied territory. The course of movements not only grow in formal links of the Free French that would return to its allies Continental in June 1944. Bye.